Namaste, lads and ladies. Welcome back finally to another manga review. Today we are doing the fourth volume of Spy Family. Didn't say the X this time. Yippee for me. And on the cover we have a gorgeous looking pupper. I don't know the breed of it. It kind of looks similar to a sheepdog, except it doesn't have the fur covering its face. I think it kind of looks like a cross between, like, with the little mustache on its face, kind of like a Yorkshire, like a white terrier, and the body of like a sheepdog or something like that, or maybe like one of those big, what are they called? Samoyeds, I believe. I believe they're Samoyeds. They're like the big white bear-like dogs, basically. So we have a very long episode, roughly about 70 odd pages or so, of the first little chapter, first little skit, where Lloyd is trying to break up this crime syndicate of explosive bombers, terrorists, basically. Meanwhile, he's out trying to appease Anya's want and need for a pup, basically for a dog. And Yor is with her, just trying to keep them in the place while he gives the excuse that he has to go to the toilet. And it's a very, very long poop, basically. So she gets a bit bored and notices a dog walking outside, and it's this dog. And we find out through a couple of pages beforehand that this dog can see into the future, which is actually shown off at the front of this cover. If you can see from the telly, it says future. And it's like one of those ye olde 50 TV screens that you would normally see in Fallout. Fallout was something similar to this telly because, Fallout, if you've played the game, basically, world gets blown up with like a radioactive bomb and all that, and you have to survive like in the outlands of like golems and stuff like that. Well, I say golems are like ghouls, basically, with like radiation like striking their body and just destroying most of the world around them, basically. So it's like a dystopian type thing. This is what this TV reminds me of, like that, basically. How like you're like this 50 born person, like born in the 50s, and then you're like cryogenically asleep, and then woken up in the future in this radiational time period, basically. That's what that reminded me of. And his name is quite interesting as well, because later on, they name him Bond, not because of James Bond, but because of Bondman, because Bondman was known for having like these black gloves on, basically, as does Lloyd. So they gave him the name Bond for that reason. We're sticking with the spy stuff, and I like it. So before we get to all the adoption things here and there, they basically show off some of the dogs that they were interested in. Anya didn't quite like them because they're a bit too muscular and a little bit too vicious looking, basically. She wanted something smaller. And there's actually this funny clip where the dogs like start posing, like they start like showing off their muscles and like doing these poses and all that, and I'm just like, that's brilliant. Why are these dogs doing this and all that? I'm just thinking to myself, are these trained dogs literally like humanoids in dog bodies or something like that? I think that would be quite funny, actually. Anyway, as Anya notices this dog pass by the window, she obviously can kind of like read the emotions of other people and animals, apparently, and she's actually able to notice that this dog can see the future, because as she looks into its subconsciousness, she actually sees Lloyd and a couple of other agents in the bottom of a rubble in the building, and this really upsets her to the point where she just panics and doesn't know what to do. So she ends up telling like Yor that no, she doesn't say anything to Yor. That's not until later on. She basically goes after the dog to like find it and like figure out what on earth like this dog is, basically, because she knows it can see into the future, but she wants to know more about the thing she saw, basically, because it involves like Lloyd getting killed, basically. And then we meet this nasty group of people that are basically trying to get the West to fight the East, basically, through any means necessary, through bomb attacks and terrorism and so on and so forth. They even go to the far lengths of even killing Anya, basically, when they find her, like, within the room eavesdropping on them. And there's a bit where the guy is about to stab her until the dog just, like, breaks off of its chain and comes running into the room to protect Anya. But then it also feels threatened, so it goes behind Anya because they tested on him. The same thing with Anya, basically, and even Anya feels this. She's like, "You're just like me," basically. You know, we've both been tested on in a certain sense. So he gets the opportunity to swoop her up when a phone rings, and they get distracted by it. So then the dog runs downstairs with Anya, and they're running through the streets, and then they come face to face with the head honcho leader with his German Shepherd sidekick dog, and the German Shepherd kind of goes behind Anya to block the exit from them, and then the dog gets yanked away. Bond gets yanked away. She's on the floor, and the sidekick assailant alongside with this head honcho leader is about ready to kill Anya. In a very gruesome manner, he kind of like grabs her by the scruff of the shirt and then like brings his hand towards her head like he was going to crush her skull. Like really freaking dark shit. And then Yor somehow manages to find them because she saw Yor on the back of the dog as they're running through the streets basically. And she just kicks this guy straight into the wall. And then he bounces off of two other walls, just bows him into the wall. And he's just unconscious with his fucking ass on his face, basically. And she like turns around to the other guy and the German Shepherd and just gives this nasty, visceral look. Like, I think I have it as well. Like, it's a fucking vicious, nasty look, and I love it. Like, I've always said, like, you know, never get between a mother and a child, and this is something what I've really loved with Yor, that she's basically shown nothing but love and protection with Anya, as any parent would with their child, really. But oh no, that's Lloyd. Wait a minute, I think I might have gone too far. Yeah, I've gone too far. Where is this bloody picture? Yeah, there it is. That's the face. Fuck me. And then it even scares Anya, like, you see her face there, like she's really scared of her own mother, bless. And then it leads to Anya having to say to Yor, like, you know, oh, I must go to the loo, and then jumps on the dog and then runs away, basically. I got to go talk to Dad. And then she's just like, where are you going? You know? So then she basically goes to the place where the building was meant to be blown up, and then has no way of disarming the bomb. So the best thing she can do is write a message on the door very haphazardly, which was very risky in her situation because she could have done anything, like opening that door, touching it, or just pushing it slightly would have blown the area up. She could have killed herself, but she was willing to do that to protect Lloyd, basically, which is really brave and filled with valour that she is, bless her. She's such a sweet girl, really. I feel like, although she's a little selfish, I mean, that's to be expected. She's a kid at the end of the day, but she really does have a sense of love for Lloyd, basically, and Yor, who already sees them as their parents, basically, which is quite sweet, really. Later on, we then see Lloyd with a couple of agents at the building, whilst his friend is interrogating, his boss, is interrogating some of the teen terrorists, basically, and they make the threat of like, oh, well, it doesn't matter what you do to us, the West is going to fight the East no matter what, really. And then it comes to the point where the agent with Lloyd is about to open the door to blow the whole building up until Lloyd like stops him and then says, don't you think it's questionable why there's like a warning on the door? It says, well, yes, but it's probably just there to psych us out, like to test us and all that. And Lloyd's like, no, this seems very haphazardous, and also like, why is the drawing like childlike? Like, the other agent was kind of skeptical about it, but then when he thinks about it, there have been situations like this that have happened in war zones, like in Afghanistan. Sometimes British and American forces will employ the help of some younger children, just like how Al Qaeda employed children to use them as sacrificial like bombs, basically, or sometimes they'll have them use RPGs and all that. It's very disgusting to use children in war like that, but with the American and British forces, they mostly use children as a form of like warning or intellect, basically. Like an awful lot of children hear everything, and they're very inquisitive. So having the info that children get is quite helpful in certain situations. Like I believe there was this one kid, I think in Afghanistan, which was awarded a Medal of Bravery or something for warning an entire squadron of tanks that rolled through there about a minefield just a little bit off to the right of where they were going, basically. So without him telling them that, then that could have been an awful lot of lives lost. So to that child, really, it was they were very thankful for him, like, or warning them that. And I heard somewhere down the line that his family, like one of his family members, unfortunately got tortured or something because he helps these foreign men, basically. He helped the British and the Americans basically out with not losing any lives and all that. And I find that really upsetting, really, and disgusting that you're willing to use children against someone in war. Basically, it's just really bad. But yeah, so Anya does the good thing and helps Lloyd out. I almost said her dad, but might as well just call him her dad, because he is that at this point, as is yours her mother. And they basically take the dog home. They have him fully adopted. They take him to the park, and Anya gets like her glove stolen by this little bulldog, like looking all mean and muggy and all that. And then the dog, like Bond, just comes up behind him and says like, "You're not that guy, pal. Give me the gloves." And then he takes the gloves back and gives them to Anya, and then that's what sparks the whole idea of like, a name. Yes, because Bond Man wears gloves, and you've just given me my gloves, so I'll call you Bond. So that was quite lovely, and there's a little bonus skit at the end where Curly, or Q I like to call him, is infatuated with this one bartender's waitress or something. I believe she's a waitress, or she might be a barmaid, I'm not so sure. And I believe her name was either Maria or... I'm sorry, I did not catch the name of her, unfortunately. Her name was Monica McBride. That was her name. McBride. It sounds either Irish or Scottish. She sounds Irish in descent with McBride. Oh no, it could be Scottish. I'm not so sure, but yeah, it's just a fun little side skit where he kind of is getting a little bit sick of the life of an agent, which is kind of ironic because in the previous book, or the book before that, when they were interrogating Yor about her involvement with like her brother being in the secret police to see whether or not if she knew if he was in the secret police or not, it kind of felt like he was saying like, you're an agent, you need to be emotionless in this situation, like why are you acting like, upset for suspecting Yor, basically, this is your job and all that. So I kind of find it a very weird 180 for him to finally start having feelings for some random woman. I mean, we're all human at the end of the day, but as an agent, you're trained not to feel these things. You're trained not to have these emotions for civilians and other stuff like that, because it can lead to dangerous situations such as death. Like if you've ever watched The Matrix, how Morpheus talks about the red and blue pill and the woman in the red dress. The woman in the red dress is meant to be a representation of distraction and vulnerability and weakness, basically. You're not going to get killed by the woman in the red dress particularly, but you were distracted long enough for for the guy in the sunglasses to come out and shoot him, basically. That's what happens basically in those situations. That's where women get their strength, really, when it comes to these things, when it comes to femininity, really. Women don't realise how powerful their femininity is when they use it to great distinction in a certain sense. And it's the same with men when it comes to their strength. I feel like if men didn't have their issues with libido, or were so easily attached to drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. I'm not saying that women can't be like attached to drugs and alcohol, but I find on the masses men are more likely to fall to temptation than women are, basically. I mean, hell, it's in the Bible, for goodness sakes. Like, it's in one of the first verses how Eve like managed to like seduce Adam with like the apple of Eden, basically. You know, if it wasn't for Eve, then he would never have tasted the apple, basically. And it's funny, really, because she was born from one of his ribs, basically. So, in a certain sense, a little bit of that curiosity and a little bit of that cheekiness comes from Adam, in a certain sense. So, really, the beginning of all things that could lead to one's downfall is within oneself. It's not another person, it's what comes from within you, basically. So, that's why I've always took it upon myself to never drink, never smoke, never do drugs and stuff like that, because I might not have, like, the I mean I have self-control, but I feel like if I was given something that I really did enjoy, I think it would be very hard for me to let go. So I think the best thing to have to counter something like that is to never have the first taste for it, like never have the first sip of that alcohol that could lead down like 7,000 bottles of alcoholism, basically. A little bit of a serious turn on the end of that note. Sorry for that, guys, but that's kind of a funny thing what you learn from a book, really, especially like in something like this, really. You know, these books make you think. Like, they're not just there for enjoyment, really. It makes you like think differently about what could have done with what you could have done with your life. Like, look at the face of this dog. It looks miserable. He looks very miserable because he's had a hard life. Like, just looking at the cover, you can immediately tell this dog's personality and its emotional intelligence just from looking at his face. And it's the same really with the characters, really, with how Lloyd, he's so serious all the time, but when he was younger, he was very emotional. He lost his parents, basically. Or maybe he was an orphan, I can't quite remember that story, but he was very emotional. So when he was younger, he realised crying's not going to fix anything. Crying's not going to help me. Crying is not going to get me anywhere in life. So I have to be stoic, I have to be super serial, I have to make something of myself. So there's always a lesson to learn in the harsh realities of life, basically. Although it doesn't mean you have to make a mistake to learn from it. You can always learn from other people's mistakes, which is why I'm always thankful for people around me that have made those mistakes. I've managed to help them get out of those mistakes, and thus has helped me to never make the same mistakes in a certain sense. Which is what all humans should really be doing. We should be helping each other no matter the situation, really. Either you're homeless, drunk, or whatever, basically. I feel like a little helping hand each day makes the day a little bit brighter for us, really. So, it's just something to ponder on, really. So, with that, lads and ladies, I believe that will be my last book review for a while. I will probably do Komi Cannot Communicate? It's the Kevin Tate show. No, I will possibly do Komi Cannot Communicate within a couple of weeks' time or so. I'm not so sure. I've still got a tattoo story time to do. I think I might do the tattoo story time after a couple more game plays, because Bloodborne is about one episode away from being complete, and God of War is about 3 or 4 episodes away from being done as well, because if you notice with God of War, I don't do like the combat in that very much because it's too long. Like, some of the videos will be like an hour long, and I don't want like to waste your guys' time with an hour long video. I mean, if you enjoy it, then that's fine, but I kind of want to like digest it all down for you all to easily enjoy. Makes it easy for you guys, basically, because I know we're all busy now these days. I'm getting a tattoo sooner or later, if you might have seen from my first class video of God of War. I've been a long time lover of Pokemon, and I'm very surprised and very shocked how I have not even got one Pokemon tattoo. So I want my first Pokemon tattoo to be one of a Pokemon that I've used ever since day one, and one that I've really grown to love over the years, and that would be of God of War. I think I actually managed to find a Curlia in like the first game of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Like, there's like a 1% chance of getting a Curlia if you go through, like, I think it's either Route 34 or 36. I think it's Route 34, and like, it was very, very lucky. Like, it was very lucky for me to get this Pokemon. Like, a 1% chance, and I was so goddamn happy when I did, because that was like one of the rarest Pokemon that I really tried to get, really, because when I watched the anime, like, something about the Gardevoir just pulled me into it. Like, the way she was like meek and mild, but also very loyal. She was a very self-sacrificing, loyal Pokemon, which could read your mind and read your emotions, which made her, I think, the most human out of the other Pokemon, which really attracted me to Gardevoir as a Pokemon, basically. So I'll go into details more on the designs later on, and maybe when I do a tattoo story time, I will show the full uniqueness of the tattoo. But I will be getting that tattoo sometime next Saturday. Well, technically it will be next week, since it's Saturday now. So look forward to that. I will not be looking forward to the tattoo session. It's 6 hours long. I'm going to fucking be in pain. I really should just use numbing cream, but at the end of the day, I just don't want to like ruin the skin in case it doesn't take the tattoo very well, because my skin is quite good for taking ink. Like, some of these are like well over 5 to 6 years old, and honestly they look fantastic, like because of my skin color basically. So I'm glad that they've stayed in for as long as they can, really. Like this one is 7 years old. That's in the palm of my hand. That should be gone by now after like 10 years. It's not even faded. It's perfectly, like, it's not even faded. That's fantastic. So, anywho, with that, lads and ladies, I thank you ever so much for watching another one of my manga reviews, and I shall see you in whatever I do next around here. Take care, my friends.